check. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Welcome to the Anti-Media Radio. It is April 11th, 2014. Made it through another week. Holy cow, people were being crazy this week, weren't they? Every time the moon's doing this, they're so crazy. Anyways, thanks for joining me on the Anti-Media Radio. You're here with LaVon. It's Friday. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff tonight. I've been doing a lot of research. Too much. I choose to read in the middle of the night because I have a full-time job where I probably like you guys, right? I wake up in the morning. I don't want to, but I do it. And sometimes I shower, depending on my mood, or sometimes I stay in bed, depending on my mood. Then I get dressed, try to make myself presentable. Then I go to work. I like it most of the time. I put all my effort there and making this, my counterpart, my boss man, he gets to take home all the monies. Does it sound familiar to you? You put all of your energy into something and it's not entirely yours. A lot of people I know right now are kind of in this shift. Kind of going through motions, and we're all trying to work towards something of our own. And I encourage you to keep on going, and you're going to meet a lot of opposition. A lot of people in my life right now are wondering what the hell I'm doing, because I'm literally taking a leap of faith, trying to put all my energy in towards my own business, despite the fact that I'm pretty close to the poverty level. It can be done, and I want to encourage you to be aware of the laws that exist, especially here in California, and I encourage you to look within your own home state. There's something called cottage food operations. You may or may not know about it. I live in California, and here, Assembly Bill AB, we can call it AB for short, 1616, Chapter 415, Statutes of 2012, was signed into law by Governor Brown on September 21st, 2012, and became effective on January 1st, 2012. The bill allows individuals, you and I, your neighbors even, to prepare and or package certain non-potentially hazardous food items in a private home kitchen, referred to as Cottage Food Operations, or CFO. AB 1616 creates a two-tier cottage food operator registration and permit systems to be enforced by local, county, or city environmental health agencies. So there are two different classes, okay? Class A cottage food operators are those operations that sell CFO prepared foods directly to the public at home where the cottage food operation is located or at a community event. And Class B, or the second tier, cottage food operators are those operations that sell CFO prepared foods either indirectly through restaurants or stores, or both directly to the public as well as indirectly to the public via sale to retail food facilities such as restaurants and markets. There are different requirements. Oh no, the wind's blowing. Hold on. There are different requirements for these different classes, and my goal is to go through as much information with you guys tonight. I literally printed everything that you would need to know on how to start your own business. So if we don't get through all of it tonight, there will be a part 2 next Friday. All right? So bear with me. I'm going to do my best here. My goal is to give you some inspiration and know that you can do it. Who cares what other people think? If you got an idea, do it. Let's see here. Where was I? All right. There are different requirements for Class A and Class B cottage food operations. Class A cottage food operations must submit a completed self-certification checklist approved by the local environmental health agency when they submit their registration application. Class B must submit a permit application and be inspected prior to obtaining a permit from the local environmental health agency. All cottage food operations must be registered or permitted by their local environmental health agency before commencing business. Please contact your local environmental health agency for more information. All cottage food operators will have to meet specific requirements pursuant to the California Health and Safety Code related to preparing foods that are on the approved food list. We'll get to that in a little bit. Completing a food processor training course with 3 months of registration, implementing sanitary operations, creating state and federal compliant labels, and operating with established gross annual sale limits. We'll talk about that. The local environmental health agency must inspect the permitted or registered area of the private home in which the cottage food operator prepares, handles, or stores food prior to issuing the Class B CFOs, and 2, on the basis of a consumer compliant where there is a reason to suspect that adulterated or otherwise unsafe food has been produced by the cottage food operation, or that the cottage food operation has violated provisions of law related to cottage food operations. So you're going to be inspected by the health agency. That's a given, right? We would expect that. If we're preparing food in our homes, they want to ensure that, like, the same standards that restaurants receive are the same that you will receive, which is pretty awesome. Cottage food operations are not allowed to manufacture potentially hazardous foods, acidified foods, or low-acid canned food products that would support the growth of bacteria if not properly prepared. These foods, as well as other food not on the approved food list, are regulated by the California Department of Public Health. The enactment of AB 1616 provides cottage food operators with the opportunity to operate a small-scale food business. Once the cottage food operation exceeds the gross sales volume established by the law, they must move their operations to a commercial processing facility and register with the CDPH under the Processed Food Registration Program. Their number, if you want it, is 916-650-6516 for more information about registration. That's pretty cool. I do have some frequently asked questions that I want to go through with you guys, and then we will get into more detail about what is approved, how to obtain a permit, requirements to operate. The California Department of Public Health will talk about the Food and Drug branch and how you could add to the list of things that are approved. We'll talk about what kind of training you have to receive. We'll talk about what kind of employee regulations you'll have to abide by. And we'll also go into detail about the labeling that's required, because that's very important, right? We got to know what we're eating. So, let's see here. So, what is a CFO, and when does it go into effect? So, we recently just read that it became effective in 2013. Why don't we know about this? It's been a whole year. It requires the California Department of Public Health, or the CDPH, to carry out certain tasks associated with implementation and imposes certain responsibilities on local planning and environmental health jurisdictions. Further information regarding the statutes of implementation can be obtained from your local environmental health agency. So I encourage you to look up the laws in your local environment. So what is a CFO? A CFO is an enterprise at a private home where specific low-risk food products that do not require refrigeration are made or packaged for sale to consumers. What is meant by a private home? Private home means a dwelling, including an apartment or another rented space, where the CFO operator resides. Are there limitations on the CFO sales? Yes. In 2013, it was $35,000. This year, it's $45,000. Next year, they've changed it to $50,000 or less in gross sales annually in 2015. So can a CFO have employees? A CFO can have one full-time employee, not counting family members or household members. So what are CFOs permitted to produce? Only specific foods that are defined as non-potentially hazardous are approved for preparation by CFOs. These are foods that do not require refrigeration to keep them safe from bacterial growth that could make people sick. That's important, right? The CDPH will establish and maintain a list of approved cottage food categories on their website. The list included in the new law includes baked goods without cream, custard, or meat fillings such as breads, biscuits, churros, cookies, pastries, and tortillas. Too bad we can't put empanadas on here. You know, every culture has some sort of like little meat pie. That would be killer. We'll see. Candy such as brittle and toffee. Chocolate-covered non-perishable foods such as nuts and dried fruit. Dried pasta. Dried baking mixes. Fruit pies, fruit empanadas, and fruit tamales. So no meat. That's cool. Granola, cereals, and trail mixes. Herb blends and dried mole paste. Honey and sweet sorghum syrup. Jellies, jams, preserves, and fruit butter that comply with the standard described in Part 150 of Title 21 of the Code of Federal Regulations. We'll get to that. Nut mixes and nut butters, popcorn, vinegar and mustard, roasted coffee and dried teas, waffle cones and pizzelles. So think of the things that you can buy at a farmer's market. Those are the same kinds of things that, when operating under a CFO, you would be able to prepare in your own home. So what are the two classifications? So there's Class A, right, when you're only allowed to engage in direct sales. Or Class B, most may engage in both direct and indirect sales. So what's the difference? Direct means a transaction within the state of California between a CFO operator and a consumer, where the consumer purchases the cottage food product directly from the CFO. Direct sales include, but are not limited to, transactions at holiday bazaars or temporary events, such as bake sales or food swaps, transactions at farm stands, certified farmers markets, or through community-supported agriculture subscriptions. Ooh. And transactions occurring in person at the cottage food operation. So what is indirect? Indirect means an interaction within the state of California between a CFO and a third-party retailer, a consumer, where the consumer purchases cottage food products made by the CFO from a third-party retailer that holds a valid permit issued by the local environmental health agency in their jurisdiction. Indirect sales include, but are not limited to, sales made to a retail food facilities, including markets, restaurants, bakeries, delis, where food may be immediately consumed on the premises. Let's see. What are the limitations on internet sales and delivery of cottage food products? A cottage food operator may advertise as well as accept orders and payments via internet or phone. However, a CFO must deliver in person to the customer. A CFO may not deliver any CFO products via US Mail, UPS, FedEx, or using any other third-party delivery service. A cottage food operator may not introduce a CFO product into an interstate commerce. Additionally, CFOs can only sell cottage food outside of their county of residence only when the local environmental health agency of the outside county allows it. So what are the limitations on advertising for your products? It is unlawful for any person to disseminate any false advertising of any food. An advertisement is false if it is false or misleading in any particular. Isn't that interesting? A cottage food product that is found to be falsely advertised would be subject to enforcement action. That's interesting. I'm not going to even go there. That's a whole other show. Do I need any special training or certification? Certification. There we go. To make cottage foods? A person who prepares or packages cottage food products must complete a food processor course approved by the CDPH within 3 months of being registered or permitted and every 3 years during the operation. Does the CFO need a permit to operate? Planning and zoning. All CFOs need to obtain approval from their local city or city planning department. The Homemade Food Act gives planning departments several operations to consider, so planning departments' requirements may vary between jurisdictions. So environmental health. For Class A, CFOs who are having direct sales only must complete an annual registration with a local enforcement agency and submit a fully completed self-certification checklist approved by the local health agency. For Class B, CFOs, either direct and indirect or indirect only, must obtain an annual permit from the local environmental health agency. Other requirements. Check on other state and local requirements that may be applicable, such as seller's permits to the Board of Equalization or business licenses through your city or country. So, registration and permits are non-transferable between person, locations, type of food sales, i.e. direct sales Class A versus indirect sales Class B, or type of distribution. So you gotta be clear on what you want. How much would a permit or registration cost the CFO? Each local jurisdiction will establish fees that are not to exceed the cost of providing the service. Additional fees may be charged for inspection or enforcement of activities if the cottage food operation is found to be in violation of California food safety laws on cottage food operations. Another question is, will my CFO registration permit allow me to sell at other retail venues? There may be health permits required to sell at other locations, such as certified farmers markets, swap meets, or community events. Please check again with your local environment health department for additional permit requirements. How often will a CFO be inspected? Class A CFO kitchens and food storage areas referenced in the law as a registered or permitted area are not subject to initial or routine inspections. Class B kitchens and food storage areas are inspected initially prior to permit issuance. Class A or B compliant inspections. The local environmental health agency may access for inspection purposes the registered or permitted area where a cottage food operation is located if the representative has, on the basis of a consumer complaint, reason to suspect that the adulterated or otherwise unsafe food has been produced by the cottage food operation or that the cottage food operation has violated California food safety laws. Excuse me. What are CFO operational requirements? All CFOs must comply with the following. No domestic activity in the kitchen during cottage food preparation. No infants, small children, or pets in the kitchen during cottage food preparation. Kitchen equipment and utensils kept clean and in good repair. All food contact surfaces and utensils washed, rinsed, and sanitized before each use. So you have to have a 3-compartment sink. All food preparation and storage areas free of rodents and insects. No smoking in the kitchen area during preparation of processing of cottage food. A person with a contagious illness shall refrain from preparing or packaging foods. Proper hand washing shall be completed prior to any food preparation or packaging. Water used in the preparation of the cottage food products must be potable. Cottage food preparation activities include washing, rinsing, and sanitizing of any equipment used in the preparation, washing and sanitizing hands and arms, and the water used as an ingredient of cottage food. What has to be on my cottage food label? All cottage food products, I keep wanting to call it college food. I don't know why. Cottage food products must be properly labeled in compliance with the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The label must include the words "made in a homemade kitchen" or "repackaged in a home kitchen" in 12-point type. The name commonly used to describe the food product. The name, city, state, and zip code of the cottage food operation which produced the cottage food product. If the CFO is not listed in a current telephone directory, then a street address must be declared. A contact phone number or email address is optional, but may be helpful for consumers to contact the business. The registration or permit number of the CFO which produced the cottage food product, and in the case of Class B CFOs, the name of the country where the permit was issued. The ingredients of the food, of course, in descending order of predominance by weight. If the product contains 2 or more ingredients, the net quantity, count, weight, or volume of the food product, it must be stated in both English, in pound units, and in metric units, which are grams. A declaration on the food label in plain language if the food contains any of the 8 major food allergens, such as milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, wheat, peanuts, and soybeans. There are 2 approved methods prescribed by federal law for declaring the food sources of allergens in packaged foods. You can either in a separate summary statement immediately following the adjacent to the ingredient list, or within the ingredient list itself. You can use the following 11 terms that are considered nutrient content claims. Nutritional value of food: free, low, reduced, fewer, higher, less, more, lean, extra lean, good source, and light. Specific requirements have been established for the use of those terms. Please refer to the Cottage Food Labeling Guide for more details. We'll go over that. A health claim is a statement or message on the label that describes the relationship between a food component and a disease or health-related condition. Sodium and hypertension, calcium and osteoporosis. Please refer to the Cottage Food Labeling Guidelines for more details. If the label makes approved nutrient content claims or health claims, the label must contain a nutritional fact statement on the informational panel. Labels must be legible in English. Accurately translated information in another language may also be included. Labels, wrappers, inks, adhesives, paper, and packages, materials that come into contact with the cottage food product by touching the product or penetrating the package must be food grade, meaning safe for food contact, and not contaminate the food. That makes sense, right? Makes me wonder about all those toxic plastics that they put our food in. But they must have different laws that they are required to abide by, right? That's something to think about. Anyways, what is the legal responsibility? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a paragraph here. In a permitted retail food facility, such as a restaurant, market, or deli, cottage food products served without packaging or labeling shall be identified to the customer as homemade on the menu board, or in an other easily accessible location that will reasonably inform the consumer that the food or an ingredient in the food has been made in a private home. What is my legal responsibility as a cottage food operator in ensuring that my food product is safe? So, the CFO operator and the employees shall not commit any act that may cause contamination or adulteration of food. This would include making foods that are not on the approved food list, or making foods under unsanitary conditions with spoiled or rancid ingredients. A cottage food operation that is not in compliance with the requirements of AB 1616 and AB 1252 would be subject to enforcement of action taken by the local environmental health agency or the California Department of Public Health. What if I find out an ingredient I use has been recalled because it can make people sick or has been identified as the cause of foodborne illness? You should notify your local environmental health agency immediately and do not distribute any more product. You may need to notify your customers and request that they return or dispose. For specific recall information, you can contact CDPH at 916-650-6500 or email FD as in Dave, B as in boy, info at cdph.ca.gov. What is my liability as a cottage food business operating out of my home? You should check with your homeowner insurance company or your landlord if you are operating out of a rental property. Many homeowner insurance policies will not extend liability coverage to liabilities arising out of a home-based business. That's a whole other thing. What other educational resources and guidelines are available to assist me in ensuring that I'm making a safe food product? Again, this directs you to the CDPH website or says contact your local environmental health agency for guidance and resources. Locally here in San Diego, I've discovered on Facebook that there is a small community of people beginning to do this. When I went to my city, which is only 9 miles large, and applied for a license, they told me I was only the second one to have ever do it, and they called me an extremist. So be prepared to meet a little opposition when you go and register. It's so unconventional, it's so new, and like most pioneers of things, you're going to be met with a lot of confusion. People aren't going to understand what you want to do, and they're going to call you all sorts of things. But say F them. That's kind of been my day. I'm so glad I'm here with you guys, though, because I don't have to think about all those energy suckers. I refuse to let them bother me. So, what can I do to ensure that I'm still meeting legal requirements if my cottage food operation grows to exceed the gross annual sales limit and or I decide I want to make another type of food product that is not on the approved food list? It says to contact the CDPH for registration and facility requirements. And if you need to file a complaint about a cottage food operation, you can call 1-800-495-3232. So, on to more details about this CFOs. Let's see here. I want to talk about things that are approved in more detail here. There was a recent amendment to the list that occurred just a few days ago, 4 days ago, on April 7th. So if you go to the CDPH website, which is what I did to get all of this information, you will notice that one of the forms you can print, which I printed so many of them. I'm going to be so busy. So it's called... where'd it go? Sorry, guys. It's a little unorganized. So, California Department of Public Health, Food and Drug Branch requests to add a food product to the cottage food approves list. So, there's a form that you can fill out to propose new items. So you have to submit an application with each submission for each food product being requested. And they don't want any recipes or formulations. Apparently, they're just going to evaluate it and ensure that it is safe. And then, if they agree, so that's kind of interesting. So, Section 114365.5 authorizes the department to add or remove food products from the approved food list at its discretion. Cottage food operators may request that the department consider adding a food product to the approved list by submitting an application to the CDPH by mail or email. The application is available on the website. It will evaluate and respond to all requests received. Whoa, I'm so excited. Careful evaluation of the food will be given before any food will be considered for addition to the approved food list. Requesters will be notified in writing on the decision. CDPH will post a notice of proposed change to the food list on the website on or about December 2nd and June 1st of each year. It will receive comments for 20 days from the date posting and will consider all public input provided on the posted change. After reviewing public comments received, it will either add the new food to the list on or about January or on about July, following the posting of the notice of proposed change, or post a notification that it has opted to withdraw all or part of the proposed amendments after reviewing and considering the public's comments. So that's cool. You actually have a say, maybe. The changes to the approved food list will go into effect 30 days after the notice of proposed change on the approved food list was posted on the CDPH website. In order to allow sufficient time for them to receive requests and evaluate them for posting by July 1st, 2014, the submission deadline for applications is April 30th, 2014. Gotta get busy. I'm gonna make I have so many ideas to amend this. I mean, it's a great start that we've already got the ability to run a business out of our home creating food. How many times have you entertained somebody and they go, oh my God, this whatever is so amazing. You should totally sell this. I hear that a lot. And I've always thought, that would be so cool if I could do that. I was just elated and just amazed that such a thing even existed. I had no idea, which is why I'm sharing it with you guys. So more detail here about the approved list. So this was the one that was approved prior to the new additions. So we have all the things I read to you guys earlier. And plus now they've added cotton candy, candied apples, confections such as salted caramel, fudge, marshmallow bars, chocolate-covered marshmallows, nuts, hard candy, or any combination thereof, buttercream frosting, buttercream icing, buttercream fondant, and gum paste that do not contain eggs, cream, or cream cheese, dried or dehydrated vegetables. I'm so stoked on that one. Dried vegetarian-based soup mixes, vegetable and potato chips, whoop whoop, and ground chocolate. This proposed change is being made after careful considerations. So these are the things on the approved list. That occurred on the 7th, right? So 20 calendar days from that day, which is no later than April 26th, I encourage you guys to go to the website and tell them whether or not you agree with these things. And let's blow them up, you guys. Let's make this list of approved things ridiculous. I want to make it so that anybody, little grandma, see your grandma's retired, she's like the best cook ever. Wouldn't it be cool if grandma could have a little kitchen, literally run a little business out of her home and not have to worry about being taken care of by the state or paying her food bill? It'd be so cool if little grandma could do that. Or even you, broke college student or person without a job, whatever situation life finds you in, just know that you could stay home. You could have a legitimate business. The options are there. How exciting, right? So I want to talk a little bit more about the particular label requirements. It's kind of interesting. I wish that they required such strict labeling for conglomerates. It's kind of interesting to see that the little guy has such strict regulations. But on the other hand, perhaps this is the start of change. You know, we're localizing things on a whole new level, creating so many jobs and really bringing back a sense of community, I think. Imagine if you have neighborhoods full of CFOs. It would totally change the way everybody interacted, especially because a CFO has to deliver their food products in person. You're going to be making constant connections within your town. So that's the thing I'm excited about. So back to the labeling. So you're required to label in accordance with specific state and federal regulations. The following list of labeling requirements is intended to assist cottage food operations, or CFOs, in complying with basic labeling laws and regulations. Packaged processed food labels usually have two distinct areas: the principal display panel, aka the primary display panel, and the informational panel. We know this as consumers, right? The principal display panel information is part of the label that the consumer will first see and is usually located on the front of the package. The panel lists the product name and the net quantity of contents. The information panel is usually located on the immediate right of the principal display to the immediate right of the principal display and contains a nutritional facts statement. Computer-generated labels affixed to cottage food products may list all required information on the principal display panel, provided that the information is displayed in a size and manner that will allow the information to be read by the average consumer. A comprehensive guide to labeling requirements and regulations for processed foods is available at General Food Labeling Requirements. Additionally, complete federal labeling requirements may be found in the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act available at 21 USC Section 343. Labels on cottage food products must contain the following information. Oh, we already went over that. Doesn't seem to have anything in addition here. So there is an example on the website if you guys want to check it out. So this is the part I want to talk about. Nutritional facts panels are generally not required for CFOs. If the food label makes any nutrient content or health claims, you've got to include this. Okay? So now to the training aspect. Cottage food operator training. Any person who prepares or packages cottage food must complete a food processor course within 3 months of becoming a registered or permitted, and every 3 years during operation. The California Department of Public Health has identified training that you may take that will satisfy the training requirements specified in California's Health and Safety Code Section 114365-2. Cottage food operators and their employees and any household member that is involved in the preparation or packaging of the foods may take one of the American National Standard Institute's, I have so many hiccups tonight, accredited food handlers courses that are currently required for retail food facility food handlers. The courses are available online or via a classroom in a variety of languages at a minimal cost. After successfully completing the course, you will receive a food handler's card or certificate, which you will need to retain as proof that you have completed the required training. You must present a copy of this card or certification for each person involved in preparing the foods to your local enforcement agency upon their request, to verify that the training requirement has been completed. Additionally, CFOs and their employees must complete the accredited food handlers course every 3 years. So you can access a list of available food handlers training courses at a website posted under Cottage Food Operator Training on the CDPH website, California Department of Public Health. So check that out if you're interested. So we talked about Class A and Class B. So let's go more into detail about what that means exactly. So registration and permit requirements for Class A and Class B food operations. All cottage food operations must be registered and permitted by the local environmental health agency before starting business. The issued registration or permit is non-transferable and is only valid for the person, location, type of food sales, and distribution activities specified by the issued registration or permit. A cottage food operation is operated by a cottage food operator and has not more than one full-time equivalent cottage food employee. Okay. which does not include a family member or a household member of the cottage food operator. A cottage food operation is located within the registered or permitted area of a private home where the cottage food operator resides and where cottage food products are prepared or packaged for direct, indirect, or both direct and indirect sales to consumers. There must be the following requirements. So you have to register or have a permit for either Class A or Class B. You have to complete the training course. You can prepare only the foods that are approved. You have to meet their preparation and sanitation requirements. You have to label your products and not exceed the gross annual sales. So next year it's 50 grand. So you can't go over 50 grand next year. And hopefully that'll just increase every year, right? Cottage food operations may only prepare for sale foods that are listed on the approved list. The list of categories of approved foods will be posted on the site. We already talked about that. The cottage food operations may not exceed the gross annual sales amount specified. We've talked about that. In 2013, it was $35,000. In 2015, and for each subsequent year after, the operation shall not have more than $50,000 in gross or annual sales in the calendar year. So more information about Class A. You can engage in only in direct sales of cottage food products. A direct sale means a transaction between the operator and a consumer, right? Where the consumer purchases the food product directly from the CFO operators within the state. So we went over that a little bit. Cool. Before opening a business for Class A, you must become registered by the local environmental health agency. We already figured that out. You also have to have that checklist we talked about. The checklist will demonstrate that the cottage food operation conforms to the statutory requirements for the CFO as set forth in California in the safety code that we talked about earlier. So you can't cook any family meals or anything related to the house. No dishwashing, no ironing, nothing, no entertainment while you're working on your business. You have to have a distinct separation. So what I would suggest is setting aside certain days and times that you work on your business aside from home activities. A time where you know that the kitchen's not going to be used. Be very specific with your schedule, just to abide by that. You can't have any infants, small children, or pets in the kitchen during the preparation. That's understandable. You gotta maintain cleanliness. That's a given. You can't smoke. We talked about that. You can't be sick while you're cooking in the kitchen. These are kind of common knowledge. The water has to have specific standards if you're cooking with it. It can't have an indirect sewer connection. Water used during the preparation of foods includes the following: washing, sanitizing, and drying of the equipment. The water used on your hands and arms. Water used as an ingredient. And a person who prepares or packages the food shall complete a food processor course. We talked about that. The course shall not exceed 4 hours in length. And CVPH says that it shall work with the local agency to ensure that all cottage food operators are properly notified of location, date, and time of the classes offered. And you've got to label your stuff. Class B operators basically have to abide by the same things. The only difference is that you're allowed to have indirect sales through a third party. You can sell online. You can sell through restaurants. You can sell a lot of different places. So that's really exciting. Additionally, you've got to make sure that all food contact surfaces and equipment are clean. Yeah, so there's that. It's not too complicated. So more about the specific laws, the provisions related to sanitary and preparation requirements for CFOs. So these are excerpts from the California Health and Safety Code I'd like to share with you guys because I think it's important. We should have just enough time to get through this, okay? So, number 1 here. It's called Health and Safety Code 114365. There are different pertinent parts here. So, first part's talking about no domestic activities, no infants, we already talked about that. No smoking, you've got to take care of your equipment. Basically the list we just went over, okay? So you've got to, section HNS, or Health and Safety Code 114365.2 says that you've got to have a permit. You can't be ill when you're working. You've got to wash your hands. Your water's got to be legit. Let's see. There's a specific hand washing procedure, okay? All employees shall thoroughly wash their hands and that portion, if any, of their arms exposed to direct food or contact and cleanser and warm water by vigorously rubbing together the surfaces of their lathered hands and arms for at least 10 to 15 seconds, and thoroughly rinsing with clean running water, followed by drying the clean hands and that portion, if any, of their arms exposed. Employees shall pay particular attention to the areas underneath fingernails and in between the fingers. Employees shall wash their hands in all the following instances. Okay. Immediately before engaging in food preparations, including working with non-prepared food, clean equipment and utensils, and unwrapping single-use food containers and utensils. After touching bare human body parts and other clean hands and clean exposed portion of the arms. After using the toilet room. After carrying or handling any animal allowed in a food facility. After coughing, sneezing, using a handkerchief or disposable tissue, using tobacco, eating or drinking, after handling soiled equipment or utensils, obviously during the preparation as often as necessary to remove soil and contamination, when switching between or working with raw and ready to eat, before donning gloves for working with food, before dispensing or serving food, or handling clean tableware and serving utensils in the food service area. After engaging in other activities that may contaminate your hands. If approved and capable of removing the types of soils encountered in the food operations involved, an automatic hand washing facility may be used for food employees to clean their hands. So food contamination by employees. No employee shall commit any act that may cause contamination of the food surfaces, or utensils. There's a section that requires the use of gloves. Single-use gloves shall be worn when contacting food and food contacting surfaces if there are any cuts, sores, rashes, artificial nails, nail polish, rings, other than a plain ring such as a wedding band, uncleanable orthoscopic support devices, or fingernails that are not clean, smooth, and neatly trimmed. Whenever gloves are worn, they shall be changed, replaced, or washed as often as hand washing. Single-use gloves shall not be washed. If single-use gloves shall be used for only one task, such as working with ready-to-eat food or with raw foods, used for no other purpose, and shall be discarded when damaged or soiled, or when interruptions with the food handling occur. Except as specified in subdivision E, resistant gloves that are used to protect the hands during operations require cutting shall be used only with food that is subsequently cooked as specified in section 114004, such as frozen food or a primal cut of meat. Resistant gloves may be used only with ready-to-eat food that will not be cooked if they have a smooth, durable, and non-absorbent outer surface, or if the gloves are covered with a smooth, durable, non-absorbent glove or single-use glove. Cloth gloves may not be used in direct contact with food unless it is subsequently cooked. So what are the requirements for food? All food shall be manufactured, produced, prepared, compounded, packaged, stored, transported, kept for sale, and served so as to be pure and free from adulteration And spoilage. So, prohibiting animals. This is a long list of restrictions in regards to animals. I don't know if we can get through this list, you guys. So I encourage you to look up all the specific reasons. There's literally a list of things in regards to animals. In regards to private homes and living or sleeping quarters, except as specified, you can't use the same room that you sleep in to use to conduct business. Non-perishable packages food may be given away, sold or handled from a private home. No food that has exceeded the labeling shelf life date recommended by the manufacturer shall be deemed to be non-perishable. So, food that is a potentially non-hazardous food that does not show signs of spoiling or becoming rancid is a non-perishable food, just in case you needed to know. Living or sleeping quarters separated. No sleeping accommodation shall be maintained or kept in any room where food is prepared, stored, or sold. So, just more detail there about how you can't sleep where you're cooking. That's kind of a given. So, permit suspension or revocation. A permit may be suspended or revoked by a local enforcement officer for a violation. Any food facility or CFO for which the permit has been suspended shall close and remain closed until the permit has been reinstated. Any food facility or cottage food operator for which the permit has been revoked shall close and remain closed. Whenever a local enforcement officer finds that a food facility or cottage food operation is not in compliance with the requirements of this part, a written notice to comply shall be issued to the permit holder. If the permit holder fails to comply, the local enforcement officer shall issue the permit holder a notice setting forth the acts or omissions which the permit holder is charged, and inform him or her of a right to a hearing. If requested to show cause why the permit should not be suspended or revoked, a written request for a hearing shall be made by the permit holder within 15 days after the receipt of the notice. Failure to request a hearing within 15 days shall be deemed a waiver to the right of hearing. When circumstances warrant, a hearing officer may order a hearing at any reasonable time within this 15-day period to expedite the permit suspension or revocation process. So obviously, if you don't comply, you can't participate. How exciting. Did you guys even know that existed? I know I just read nonstop for an hour, and your brain is probably like, what? But I want to go through some key points here. I know that was a lot of information taken, but I thought I'd save you guys the trouble. After all, I missed out on a lot of sleep to obtain that for you. Might as well share it. I used to say part of my manifesting is I want to feed everybody. And it'd be so cool if I could just grow my own food and work from home. Isn't that everybody's dream? Like, to be your own boss. I don't know about you, but I don't dream about having someone else delegate to me all day. I don't dream about having to get ripped from my bed as soon as the sun peeks over the mountains in the morning, or being away from my family the entire day, because that to me is not living. I'm trying to what's the word I'm looking for here? Reestablish what normalcy is. I mentioned to you guys earlier that I'm meeting a lot of resistance. People are afraid because I'm doing something new and it's unfamiliar. And I get it. New things are scary things. Don't worry about me. I encourage you to be inspired by this information that you may or may not know of. People in San Diego are taking part, and people up north, they have got a pretty good little CFO industry up there. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts from people who run CFOs, and this one guy, he exceeded the limits within months and had enough money to not only work from home, make his own hours, and do what he loves, but he had enough money to start a legitimate business. And the estimated startup for most CFOs is less than $1,000. So I encourage you to do some research if you're interested. You can share your love via food. When I went to apply for my license, though, I had the idea of growing my own food, which is nobody else has had that idea. And I'm going to try and make that legal. I want to be able to not only produce the food in my home, but distribute it as well. So join my little mission, guys. We're going to build a network of homegrown, locally made food. This is the way we take our power back. This is the way that we take ownership for our health and our wellness. Stop relying on everybody else to feed you and clothe you and manage you. You can do it yourself. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I imagine that when my children's children are in existence, that they'll go, remember when people used to go to the grocery stores? Isn't that weird that we were so disconnected from our source of food? Do you remember when people used to take pills all the time? Or do you remember when people used to get, they used to go seek advice from a doctor and pay a ridiculous copay? I want to change the way in which we think about food. I no longer want it to be an instantaneous, last-minute decision while you're running from point A to point B. It shouldn't just be fuel. I think our lives should be surrounded by the moments in which we feed ourselves. How beautiful, how symbolic. Literally, this thing provides to you sustenance so that it's energy, right? You're consuming something. It feeds you so that you can do what you love. Why not give yourself the best? That's what I want to know. And in my opinion, how do you know if it's the best unless you did it yourself? Right? Not only that, how cool would it be to be your own boss, make your own rules, go where you want to go throughout the day? You can decide how much money you make or not by determining where you want to put your energy. For me, it seems like I'd be a lot more motivated to work for myself than for someone else. And I hope that you guys found some pretty good information this evening. Hope I didn't overwhelm you too much with all the knowledge that I attempted to share. Please be encouraged to do research in your own local economy and government. And thank you for tuning in to the Anti-Media. I hope to have some cool information for you guys next week. Check back with Nick and DB on Monday as we will return with the awesome political discussion. Lots of things going on in the world. And look out for news leading up to the March Against Monsanto. I'm really excited to share good, awesome news with people about food. And hopefully this thing catches like fire. California grows like 2/3 of the country's food, right? We got to take advantage of this gorgeous, ideal climate. And let's localize our businesses. Let's bring our income where it matters. Literally to our streets, to our doors, to our homes. We'll take control of what we eat, take control of our health, take control of our wealth, and just perpetuate love and goodness. And don't let the others get you down. Like I said, I've been met with a ton of opposition and statements of, you can't do it. All I want to say is, watch me, suckers. Have an awesome week. Live on out.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.